This week we're going to be talking about getting potatoes ready to plant in containers and the 3 types of potatoes to grow. Hi, I'm Robin. Welcome to Robin's Container Garden. Have you grown potatoes in containers? If not, you have to start this year. There is nothing like growing potatoes in your own garden and eating those potatoes after you've grown them. Nothing like it in the world. Potatoes can be grown in any container that's over 3 gallons or 10 liters and can be put in a sunny position and obviously will have good drainage. So what are the benefits of growing potatoes in containers? First of all, containers are modular. So if you have planted your potatoes in a position that gets too much rain or gets not enough sun or has too much wind on cue, you can move them. Also, planting up potatoes, especially the early potatoes in containers, means you don't have to continually earth them up. You can bury them as deep as you need to bury them and worry about covering them up at any point. Main crop's a little bit different, and we'll talk about that in a minute. They're also easy to weed. You don't have to crawl around on your hands and knees trying to find the weeds in the ground to pull up to keep your potatoes safe. And they also help keep pests at bay. You're not going to be completely pest-free, but pests tend to kind of leave your potatoes alone if they're in containers. They're not easy pickings, in other words. And there's no wasting potatoes by not being able to find them all when you're digging them up or cutting them with a rake or a fork or a shovel when you're digging them out of the ground, because they're easy to harvest. All you have to do is dump them out in a wheelbarrow or on the grass, and you'll be able to get to your harvest really quickly, and you get everything that's in there. So what are the drawbacks of growing potatoes in containers? Let me see. There's not any drawbacks because they are the easiest plant to grow in containers in your garden. So let's talk about the different types of potatoes. If you've never grown them before, but you've heard people talk about them, you'll have heard terms first early, second early, and main crop. First earlies are really what they say on the tin. They're the first crop to go in and the first crop to harvest. They're very easy to take care of, and they're typically ready to harvest in about 10 to 12 weeks after you've planted them. Like I said, they're the first to go in, so where I live, they go in mid to late March, and you should have a harvest from them somewhere around early to mid-July. Second earlies usually take a little bit longer to mature. They usually take somewhere around 12 to 16 weeks from the time that they're planted. Like the first earlies, they're a little bit small potatoes, but the second earlies offer a larger harvest. Now here, we'll be planting the second earlies somewhere about early April, I reckon, and I expect to get a harvest from the second earlies late July, mid to late July, I think. And these, along with the first earlies, are very, very tasty. If you steam them, smother them in a little butter and some chives, good stuff. So both of these types are determinate potatoes. That means that they will grow to a set height and that they will produce a reliable crop and don't grow along the stems. Now that brings us to main crop potatoes. They take the longest to mature, about 16 to 20 weeks. But they also produce a bigger potato. Think jacket potatoes. Another benefit from main crops is that they will also store longer. So they're the longest storing potatoes. So you can store them for a few months as opposed to a few weeks with the earlies. Now, we will be putting these in the ground, and I say in the ground, in containers, roughly around mid to late April. Main crop potatoes are indeterminate potatoes. That means that they produce tubers along their growing stems. So you want to keep an eye on these, because if you have potatoes that come above the soil surface, they can turn green. And if you eat green potatoes, they can turn you green. They very well may make you ill. So it's not recommended that you eat green potatoes. So you want to make sure that if you see these little tubers poking up above the soil surface, that you cover those back up again. Now you may wonder, one of the reasons why I keep covering up my my shirt, one of the main reasons is because it's blinking cold out here. This is early February and my hands are frozen, they're almost numb. But the other reason is because I wanted to cover up my my t-shirt, and I wanted to reveal it to you all at one time. So here we are. I have started selling merch. Now the link to my shop is down below, but you might actually be interested because there's a couple of different designs, and I've even got a celebrity endorsement.
Spring's just around the corner, so I think it's time to make some changes in the garden. It's better.
I really think that color suits her, and I really think that that hoodie suits her better than the other one that she had on. My son, incidentally, actually bought the same one, so they're very popular. So their one is my slogan, just grow something. And this one just says Robin's Container Garden. And I want to say thank you to Eli for the designs. She did these for me, and I just wanted to say thanks and give her the credit where credit is due. So again, if you want to have a look at my shop, there's all kinds of things on there, from mugs to shopping bags to t-shirts and hoodies, and the link is down below and it's in the description as well. So let's get back to the potatoes. I'm actually growing all three this year: first earlies, second earlies, and main crop. A lot of garden centers right now especially have got bins full of seed potatoes in their garden centers, and you can just go in there and pick and choose how many and what varieties that you want to grow, kind of like a tatty pick and mix. If you're not sure how many that you need to buy, then what you need to do is think about this. Last year, in my 7 to 10, I think I grew them in 7-gallon containers last year. I put 2 seed potatoes, and I only grew first earlies last year. You can probably get a third potato in one of those size containers that I pushed. You're risking having smaller potatoes, but first earlies tend to be a little bit smaller anyway, so you can probably get away with that. Main crop, I wouldn't go any more than 2 potatoes per container that size. Now if you go up a size or 2 sizes, you can kind of pick and choose. You can put as many as, I'd say you could put as many as 6 in a 20-gallon container, for instance. Most people don't have that big of containers just sitting around their gardens. I have very specific needs for my 20-gallon containers this year. So I'll be growing them in smaller containers. Some seed companies may still have the kinds of potatoes that you want to grow, but your options may be a little bit limited. But give it a shot and see how you get on. Your best time to order seed potatoes online is usually in December, early January. But like I said, try it out and see what you can find. But if you've left it too long and you can't get to a garden center, your last option, your last resort, and I do mean last resort, is supermarket potatoes. Now I'll just be honest with you, full disclosure, I don't recommend this. And the main reason that I don't recommend this is because seed potatoes that you get from the garden center or from seed potato providers guarantee that those potatoes are going to be disease free. Supermarket potatoes are not meant to be grown, so they don't have any such guarantee. But that kind of potato, taking the chance that 1 or 2 of them might be diseased, is better than not having any potatoes at all. So if you don't have any other options, then supermarket potatoes are all you've got. Now I will say to you, don't get just any kind of potatoes. Make sure that you're getting organic potatoes, because potatoes that are not organic can sometimes have a chemical sprayed on them that will reduce their sprouting, and you don't want that. You want to make absolutely sure that you can sprout or chit your potatoes in advance. So now you have your seed potatoes. What do you do with them now? Now is the time to sprout them or chit them. So I have these egg trays that I got at work, and they are perfect. You need to make sure that the rose part of the seed potato is down and the eyes are facing up. They should be kept indoors in a cool, dry, and sunny area. This process here will get them started, so when it's time to plant them, you're going to have a head start. It takes about 2 to 6 weeks to chit a potato, so as soon as you get them going and get them started sprouting. There's some controversy with chitting main crop potatoes. Is whether to chit or not to chit. The idea is that with first and second earlies, you're putting those in the ground when the ground and the soil is still a little bit cool. So they need a head start in order to do what they need to do. Main crops, on the other hand, are being planted a little bit later when the sun has warmed the soil up a little bit, and they are going to be in the ground for about 5 months. So they don't necessarily need the head start. Well, I live in Scotland and we have a shorter growing season here, so I want to give my potatoes as good a chance as possible, longest amount of time to grow as possible. So my potatoes will be getting chitted, all of them, first earlies, second earlies, and main crop. So tell me, are you going to be growing potatoes in containers this year? Have I convinced you to grow potatoes in containers this year? If so, if not, tell me down in the comments. I'd love to know. Next week I'll be finishing up my 4 Ps series, and I'm going to be talking about planting. So if you don't want to miss that video or any of the other exciting content that I have planned for this year, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit that little bell to notify you when I have a new video out. And remember, you don't have to grow all the things, just grow something. Until next time, take care. Bye, y'all.